My name is Aiko, and at the Well of Wellbeing today, we are going to be in conversation with Pastor Dave Thomson. Hello, Pastor Dave.
Hello, Aiko.
Hello, how are you doing today?
Very well. Very
fantastic,
well.
Fantastic. Well, first of all, thanks for taking the time to have a chat with me about mental well-being in this current pandemic situation, the COVID-19 situation. First of all, a bit about yourself. I'll just introduce you, first of all. So, Pastor Dave Thomson, you are an accredited counselor, and you've served on the board of the Association of Christian Counselors, and you are the Director of Counseling. You oversee the counseling team and the education of counselors at Destiny College. Wow.
Yeah.
And you've also been a Christian for over 30 years. I did not know that. And you've also been with Destiny Church for over 17 years. Clearly, you have a love and a passion for people and mental health. So you are the right person to have this conversation with, a wealth of knowledge there. Now, did you ever think that this would be a day you'd live to see?
No, I didn't actually. This has been a really, really strange time, hasn't it? This lockdown.
Yes.
It's almost. I remember the first few days of the lockdown, and it seemed quite surreal. So there's, it's a real challenging time for people.
Okay. What do you think are the biggest challenges, some of the biggest challenges that people are facing at the moment?
Well, I think different age groups have got different challenges in different ways. I think for children not being allowed out to play and play with their friends, of course, there's challenges of schoolwork, and at least when they're in the school, there's a sense of they're all together and they're all progressing at the same time. And it'll be different in people's houses in terms of how people value education and how the kids are receiving it. So I think that's a big challenge. One of the biggest issues that I've heard of recently has been the challenge of relationships. The relationships, people living so closely together, not just children and parents relationships, but actually adult to adult relationships. I was working recently with a group who are dealing with domestic violence victims, and they have seen a huge increase in domestic violence. So that's certainly some of the challenges. I think the other thing is that, and that's quite an extreme end, but there's something about getting out and meeting your friends and having a chat that's really, really good for the mind. It's good for well-being, and human beings are by nature social animals. And so when we don't have that opportunity to meet together with friends, for example, in church, it doesn't, even though we're doing it online and we can see people's faces, it's not the same. You don't get the same energy.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
It feels natural, quite honestly. It really does not feel natural.
No, so that's been it. And I think the other thing is that it feels like people's freedoms have been taken away, and I think something that we're probably taken for granted, to be able to go out and wander and travel where we want to go. And that's all been removed for this COVID thing, rightly or wrongly. It has been removed, and people are affected by that. I don't think I'll take my freedoms quite so much for granted.
That's true. The sense that you have options, the sense that, you have options to wake up and go somewhere, but now you just wake up and probably just head to your living room, and there's not much of a sense of, planning where you could go, who you can meet. It's just all gone, in a sense. It's strange.
And I think people do get into their own heads at this time. So especially if you're living on your own, or one of your family's out to work and you're in on your own, people just get so involved in their own heads, or they're listening to some of the, quite frankly, some of the rubbish that we have to see on television, and just getting all of that stuff. Dear, it must be really difficult.
I know. Let's patch there for a bit though, Pastor Dave. What challenges have you faced just on a personal level? Is that something you could share?
Personal level? I think one of the challenges that I faced, I'm a very social animal anyway, so I
Okay.
do like to be around people. So that's been one of the big challenges for me.
Okay.
Although I do think sometimes solitude can be a welcome visitor.
You can.
Yeah, and so I've quite enjoyed some of the solitude.
Okay.
One of the biggest challenges was putting routines into my day.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
I have to agree.
and, you know, especially when I'm still working from home
Mhm.
and making sure that it's not that I've been working enough. I would have a tendency to work on
Mhm.
past tea times and not take the breaks because, I mean, if my office is in my house,
Yeah.
so it's taking that time to stop work,
Yeah.
taking a break, and go and do something completely different. That's been the biggest challenge for me.
So it's almost like boundaries are changing for you then, yeah?
Yeah, and of course my wife Anna's working in a nursing home,
Okay.
which has COVID in it.
Wow. So she's frontline.
So she's frontline and she's dealing with patients that have got COVID. So
Wow.
there's no, I mean, we're socially distancing in the house, you know, and so that's quite a challenge.
Wow.
So she has to come home and
Mhm.
change and bathe
Yeah.
before we even sit in the same room together.
Wow.
So that's quite a challenge.
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close to
So,
you.
mhm.
Wow.
So I think that's been the main ones, really. I don't think there's been much more than that. Look, I miss my family. I miss the family being round about me, especially my granddaughter. And my wife was saying, "Do you think she'll know us when all this is over?"
That is hilarious.
I
It's
know.
a valid
So,
question though, because you know what kids are like. They are very, I don't want to say a short attention span, but you know, they do move on quickly in a
oh,
sense.
they're very resilient. They'll just move on quickly. So, that's about the only thing really. But and then trying to not get over involved in my own thoughts.
Okay.
That can be a very dangerous thing.
It can.
Someone told me once many years ago that I shouldn't enter into my head without a responsible adult being present.
I suppose this is not where intentionality comes in. We have to make that effort to reach out
Yeah,
to feel, you know, we
yeah.
are hearing from people and yeah.
And I think that's what I've done. And I think that there have been some things that I've had to change
Mm-hmm.
in my routines and things like that. So I've had to change some things. But other than that, that's been the biggest challenges.
Okay. That's interesting. That's interesting, Pastor Dave. I think for me, it's also, you know, I tend to be a bit of a loner, but now I find myself, you know, welcoming more phone calls and reaching out a bit more. So I have to say, you're quite right in that, in the sense that the time for intentionality has come. If you weren't the kind of person who used to take phone calls, you preferred texting. Now you may want to even do video calls, you know. But there's also, we're going into it a bit. I can see that there's a bit of a benefit to it in a sense, a social sense, but tell us more about that. What do you think are the benefits that we could see in this season? What are the things that we could, you know,
Well,
take forward?
I think there are some benefits because I think it's making people stop
Mm-hmm.
and reflect. The world has changed so much
Okay.
that people are stopping and reflecting about meaning instead of being dragged by the world's ways of consumerism
Mm-hmm.
and just being driven to the next need or the next holiday or the next night out.
Yeah.
People are having to stop and think, what does life mean to me now? And we've seen a big increase in online and people even attending churches online.
Yeah.
People are searching for something more than what the world has had to offer.
Yeah.
So I think that's been some of the benefits. There's a benefit to the planet because there's less waste.
Yes, there's less waste.
I have a lovely friend in New York. He lives about an hour out of New York, and he's a lift engineer. He's a lift examiner. So you can imagine he's got a lot of work in New York. But he was telling me that as he was driving into New York the other morning,
Mm-hmm.
for the first time, he saw the Statue of Liberty without any smog in front of it. and the sky was bright blue, and he could see it from a real distance.
Yeah.
And so our rivers are getting cleaned up. The earth is beginning to repair itself.
Yeah.
It makes me think, I wonder if we should be thinking once again about at least having one day where we don't do anything and all the work's closed down and there's no, to give the earth a chance to recover from 6 days of mankind battering it. A day, just give it a chance to recover a wee bit. So it's made people think of these things as well.
Yeah. One of the things that I also wanted to ask you was just on the tip of, the benefits of this season. What do you think is God's purpose? How do you think God's purposes are being revealed in this season?
Yeah, well, I think, there's a couple of things. One of the other benefits is the fact that you can take an opportunity to do something different, do something new. Mm-hmm. And so I'm learning how to use technology. I even put RAM into a computer yesterday. If my colleagues hear this, they'll go, "No way!" But I did.
Yes, I'm afraid to ask.
Yeah, and I'm learning how to use a video camera and all sorts of different things. Yeah. The whole technological thing has been a huge change for me, but I'm enjoying it. So learning something new has been really good. Okay. So, what are God's purposes? And how are they being revealed in this season?
Yeah.
I think that people have become very aware of what's going on in our world.
Okay.
And it's made people stop and think and recognize how fragile our humanity really is.
That's true.
And when our humanity is as fragile, it makes us realize, hey, we're not in charge of all of this. Mm-hmm. The scientists don't know what to do with all of this. Mm-hmm. We need a God, and there's a creator who's created all of heaven and earth, and mankind has messed it up big time. And so there's something about God revealing to us. Mm-hmm. For me, it's been a time of real intimacy with God.
Okay.
So he's showing us somehow that he's close and that he's not into controlling our behavior. I think that's the wonderful thing about God.
Yes.
That, if you want to make a mess, go and make a mess.
Yes.
I'm still here for you.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
So, I think he's revealing his love for mankind, even though we're going through all of this pain, people dying, which I don't want to minimize at all. Mm-hmm. That's whole families that are having to get through this. And it's all across the world. So I think the other thing is that I think that the amount of media that people are consuming that's of a spiritual nature, I think God is in all of that as well.
I would have to agree, yes.
So there's something of God, and it's very difficult to describe with examples, but there's a sense of God is in all of this and everything's going to be fine.
Yes.
And God knows what he's doing with us,
Yeah, that's true. I'd have to agree when you say that that there's a sense of, just almost to say like there's more of like an expression, essentially. I find more people are writing, more people are speaking about their experiences, more people are sharing where they are in life. There's almost a sense of openness now. Like we're more open with each other, our fears, our concerns, our anxieties. And I think that's a beautiful thing. It's more like a sense of vulnerability is coming forward in a bigger way. Because previously we had the digital nature where we're just behind our screens, less social, less togetherness. But it's almost like it's being stripped back and we're sort of coming with each other.
Yeah. I think that's one of the other things is that whilst human beings are isolating, I don't think that. I think one of the great things is being involved in a church has given us an opportunity not to be isolated.
Yes.
And so I think God's still working through his church, absolutely. Is he still seeing people saved? Yes, absolutely. I think that's true. But one of the things is that we can have a different expression of Christianity,
Yes.
of God in our lives, which I think is wonderful. Now, listen, I love church on a Sunday. I go to meet my friends and listen to the word and all of that. But there is something of an expression of God in this season that I've never experienced before. Certainly his intimacy, but he's revealing that there's more than one way with which to communicate with him. I've discovered new ways of prayer, new ways of different methods of prayer.
Okay.
So people that tend to have a very similar method of praying. They'll get up and they'll maybe sit, they'll go on their knees, or they'll walk around, or they'll sit in their chair and pray. And I found that I've started doing some walking with some music, and very light music in my ears, sort of meditation music, and have really enjoyed a sense of God's presence in all of this. So that's been something quite new. Actually, me going for a walk's probably quite new. And I've been doing that 3 times a day. I've got
a week or a day, Pastor Dave?
3 times a day.
For
a minimum for a minimum of 20 minutes. I have to, because my wife comes home and counts up how many steps I've taken on my Fitbit.
So she's actually keeping track, yeah? Good on her.
Oh, yeah, she's keeping track, all right, yeah.
But I
think it's to see whether I've walked the dogs or not, though.
More concerned for the dog than for you, yeah?
I think so, yeah.
It makes sense, though, because if you're not getting your usual, you see how you'd wake up and go out and about, commute to work, pace about in an office, all that's gone now. So it makes sense to do it, a bit more often, but in less chunks, but more often.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that people really value some of these times that we've had when we've been doing something different. So, for example, at the weekend, me and my family get together on Zoom and do a quiz. Right? Yeah, so which is great fun, but it's been a long time since we all sat in the one house and did a quiz, Yeah, we're doing it on Zoom, so that's a great advantage as well. So.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. So obviously we will be coming out, when all this ends, we will be coming out to a completely new world. We can't begin to imagine what it will look like, but what do you think we should prepare ourselves for? What sort of advice would you give us in moving forward and possibly coming out as people with each other in what the world will look like when all this finally starts to ease out?
We're at the end of this kind of season, whenever that's going to be.
Yeah.
So I would say plan for the season ahead now.
Okay.
And so really think about, but here's the one big thing, and I've been seeking God in this, is I haven't been seeking God about so much about what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm seeking God in who's the person that you would like me to be as I emerge from here. So what changes would I have liked to make in my life? Because all the regular things that keep us locked into an old way of living have all gone. And so seeking God, and who would you like me to emerge as? I'll still be me, but what are the things that you would like? What kind of behaviours, what kind of attitudes, what kind of faith? I'm hoping that my faith has grown by the time I've come here as well. So that's one thing, is look and see what areas of growth do you think even God wants for you.
Okay.
Secondly, I would say plan your goals for the future. Okay. And what faith always tells us to see things before they've been manifest. So that's what faith does. So see the future as you want it to be. See in its detail, and as we move forward in our lives, we're moving forward towards that goal or that sense of achievement, because we've sat down not being able to do anything about it now, but we've sat with it in prayer, meditated about it, thought about it for a long period of time. As we emerge from this, I think that people will just move in to the dreams and goals that they've set. And I think that dreams can never really be discovered externally from ourselves. They become manifest externally from ourselves, but it always starts from an inside place. I think it was Carol Young that once said a person who looks on the external to make their achievements dreams, but the person who goes onto the internal to look at what they can do awakes.
Wow. I like that. So, it's almost like saying everything is on the inside. So while everything on the outside is changing, well, actually the inside has more to offer.
Absolutely more to offer, and great time of self-discovery. Maybe it's a time for people to think, what is God calling me to?
Okay.
And seriously thinking about, God's calling to their lives. I think lots of people will be making changes after this.
Yeah.
They'll start maybe making plans for the future and thinking, that's not what I really want to do. Maybe they want to, maybe what people will emerge with a different sense of, what is it Pastor Andrew often says, there's two great days in your life, the day that you were born and the day you know why you were born.
You were born, yeah.
And this is a great time to discover that.
Yeah.
So I would say, learn something new, surprise yourself.
I like that.
Surprise yourself. I mean, me putting RAM into a computer is a real surprise. I'm telling you. I couldn't wait for my wife to come for me to tell her.
Pastor Dave, do not sell yourself short. I'm out here also learning. I had never heard of Zoom, ever.
Is that right?
Yes, I'm still in Skype. Like when I moved abroad, when I moved from my country to Glasgow several years ago, it was Skype. And I thought Skype was what we're going to come on back to. And everyone was like, Zoom. So I'm like, what is Zoom? So everyone is learning. No one ever arrives when it comes to technology. There's always something.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I think the other tip that I would give people is to make sure that they've got a routine for their mental health and to stick to that routine. And do things that you've been read that book that you were putting off. Take the time to really relax, but do the things that you're going to grow in. I've hardly watched, you would think, I've hardly watched a bit of television since this lockdown.
Oh my goodness, me neither.
Hardly a thing on television. Maybe half an hour at night. And that's been about it.
And that's it.
Yeah. And I'm busier than ever I was, but I think this season ahead is to reevaluate what's really important to us and to make sure that the things that are really important to us, go and do them. If you're in a job just now that you don't like and you're just so glad to be off, for goodness sake, at the end of this thing, make sure you're looking for something that's going to give you some meaning and value and worth.
That's true. So the next question I have for you, Pastor Dave, is sort of personal. It's more on the social level of things. I've been out and about every once in a while to go shopping, and I've noticed that fear is starting to manifest itself in many different ways. Obviously, I mean, in the aisle the other day, I was trying to take a picture of coconut milk to send my friend the variety so she could pick one and I could pick it up for her and drop it off to her house. And I just noticed a lady almost like shouting at me, saying for me to move because I was in her way. And I realized everyone is sort of short with each other. It's almost like this sense of, you should know that we should be social distancing. You shouldn't be this close to me. Everyone's become almost like rude and uncautious. And I'm quite concerned to the social elements we will come out to after all this is over, because obviously fear, anxiety, the unknown, your neighbor could be your enemy, could be a carrier of this thing. What do you have to say about that? How do you think people can prepare for that sort of thing?
I think it's true that people are more afraid.
Yeah.
My wife got accused of skipping the queue yesterday, in fact, And she hadn't, they just moved from one queue, to, and we'd closed one till down and asked everybody to move across. And so she moved across, and this woman said, "You're skipping the queue." And she gave my wife a hard time. She was very, very rude.
Wow.
I said, "How did you handle it?" So Anne's not slow in handling it. But she said, "Excuse me, I'm not the type of person that skips a queue. So maybe you should get your facts right first." And I thought, good for you.
Yes.
So, yeah, people are ruder. People are so scared. I was out walking my giant-sized Chihuahua the other day, and somebody, when I was walking down the road, they stopped to see which way I was going to make sure I gave them a wide enough berth so they wouldn't pick up. And it's just that kind of strange kind of behaviour.
Yeah, becoming the norm.
Yeah, and it's just kind of what would I say? Human beings are supposed to be social, and when you cut something out or make them distant, I think it's a wee bit like this. When people are driving the car, they can be very rude while they're driving the car because the person's not in front of them. I think that this social distancing has put people into a place where they just think it's okay to be rude.
Yeah.
And
that's spot on. It's like common courtesy,
Yeah, and I think that we as Christians have to find a way around that. And
yes.
we're told to love our neighbours, so
yes.
Be nice to the people that are horrible to us, and try and show them a bit of love in this time. I think from a mental health perspective, our Christians need to make sure that they stay in touch and talk about what's going on inside them. So vital.
Wow. I like that. So you're saying, in a nutshell, everybody just try and stay in touch, stay open, stay in touch, stay positive, keep dreaming.
Keep dreaming, do something new.
Do something new, keep learning.
Yep.
Yeah, and just make sure that you are generally taking advantage of the season to reflect and find your purpose in God.
To reflect and find your purpose in God. Yeah, that's absolutely bang on. Great.
Thank you for chatting with us, Pastor Dave. We'll chat again soon. And if you have any more questions, if you have any questions you'd like Pastor Dave to answer, any concerns, just send them all into the Well of Wellbeing at destiny-church.com, and we'll be looking forward to responding to your questions. Thank you for watching.